And welcome back to Punchline. We'll be delving back into the murky Jubilee waters with Secretary General David Muradi. Deputy Party Leader David Muradi. Secretary General. What are you, David? We'll confirm that after the break. My apologies. But first, we want to talk about this. President Uhuru Kenyatta this week eased COVID-19 measures as Kenyans hoped, albeit with caution, that he would do so, and he has said he will not hesitate to enforce some even stricter measures should the pandemic get out of control. The president made the announcement at the COVID-19 conference in which Kisumu Governor Professor Nyong'o was a contributor, and he joins us now from his home. Welcome back to Punchline, Professor and Governor, but because you are a politician, just allow me to start very quickly on a semi-political note. The COVID conference appeared to reflect on how we will as a country forge forward even in this time of a health and economic crisis or emergency, yet at the same time our politics continues to very easily turn to violence, as was witnessed in Murang'a today. What are your observations and reactions to today's events, your concerns, if any, going forward into a possible referendum, and particularly because politics is not the only thing that is ailing Kenya. We have, as I've just mentioned, an economic and a health crisis as well.
Well, you know, one cannot predict really on a daily basis what's going to happen in the political world. But I think the president's appeal was quite important and apt, that the behaving as if we are in a normal world, that we can carry out politics as if COVID-19 is not there, it's not really fair to the Kenyan people. I think people should do this with moderation and should make sure that they give room for both the county governments and national government to work together to control and minimize the effects of this COVID-19. For example, in Kisumu, about 2 or 3 months ago, we had cases only about 1 or 2. It increased to single digit for some time, but now the total number of people affected by COVID-19 is 503 as of today. It could be easily be 600 by next week. And this is mainly concentrated in Kisumu city. And I'm not surprised because since the opening up of the borders and free movement of people, we've had a lot of people from outside coming back in and out, and this increases the possibilities of COVID-19 spreading. Now, in the event that you have something like a political rally, for example, where people come from all over and seem not to obey social distance, really we are being rather reckless in that regard. So I really would like to appeal to Kenyans that until such time that we know whether the curve is flattening or not, I think we should heed the president's call.
Kenya is trying out this sort of phased reopening with the president announcing an easing of measures. As both a scientist and a leader, what will you be watching for now that will be indicative of whether the country can further open up or should return to some very serious measures?
Well, the opening up calls for, again, a lot of responsibility on the part of every Kenyan. I think first, the COVID-19 protocol should not be forgotten. They should be enforced now more than ever before. In Kisumu County on Thursday last week, the county commissioner and myself, who chair the multi-agency COVID-19 response committee, had a press conference where we reiterated very firmly the COVID protocols, particularly with reference to Kisumu County. We said, one, that social distance must be maintained, washing hands must be maintained, and that wearing a mask is a must. Apart from that, there are other measures that we insist on. There should be no more than 1/3 the number of people in a church or a place of worship, regard to the size of the place of worship. Secondly, the services should not last more than 1 hour per session. And thirdly, in funerals particularly, again, the rule of not having more than 200 people, maintaining social distance and disposing of the funeral rites within 2 and 3 hours between 9 and 1 o'clock must be observed so that we do not let people congregate in one place for too long to encourage the possible spread of the virus. Now, it doesn't mean that these measures are 100% perfect or proof that there will be no COVID-19 transmission in such places. But as Shakespeare once said, discretion is the better part of valor. So let us be discreet about everything in observing these COVID-19 rules. And if we do so, we shall minimize, not eliminate. I don't think it's possible to eliminate the spread because somebody is bound to make one mistake from one place to the other. But we shall greatly minimize the spread and the adverse effects of COVID-19 in our society.
Even as the Council of Governors has decried the fact that funds have yet to be released to counties. The chair of COG threatening that counties will have to shut down if this money is not released immediately by the Treasury. And today we've seen the Speaker calling for, Speaker Lusaka calling for some kind of restraint and patience on the part of counties, saying that this is being worked out with the National Treasury. Again, all this is happening in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of an economic crisis. What is the situation like, for instance, in Kisumu County in the running of its daily affairs? And how does this, holding of funds by the Treasury further perhaps complicate the very delicate situation in which counties find themselves?
Yes, the situation is delicate, the situation is difficult. Finally, the Senate did pass the necessary laws that should make it possible for us to receive the funds. And I hope that the Treasury and the other arms of government that should be doing this expeditiously will do so. I really sometimes wonder why we are a little bit slovenly when it comes to taking such actions. The counties are where people live, by the way. People live in counties. No Kenyans live somewhere between here and heaven. It is on earth in counties. So the money should go to where it should be used to carry out health services. Health service provision, as you know, by the Constitution, is a county function. And the county is not going to function without resources like funds. So we shouldn't be made to beg for this or to say the obvious that if we don't get it, services will not be delivered, especially at the COVID-19 time. It should be more than obvious to those who are responsible for doing this. And if this delays any further, it is not the county government as a government that suffers. It's the people of Kenya to which these services should be delivered by the government as an administrative machinery. So really, my call on the responsible institutions is just be rational and fair and realize that this is no time to delay any kind of action as far as getting resources to deliver healthcare and to manage healthcare is concerned.
Right, but is the threat of shutdown? This has been on for quite some time. I mean, what does a shutdown actually mean? And is that something that is quite likely? For instance, in your own county, Kisumu, when would you say that you will no longer be able to give services unless that money is released? Well,
I mean, when I cannot pay the service providers. When I cannot pay beyond working hours, the service providers sometimes work beyond working hours. When I cannot make sure that people at control centers cannot be there because there's no fuel to take them there. When it's very clear that I cannot deliver the services, then you say, look, what's the point of you coming to work when you don't need to come to work because you cannot deliver the services, you don't have means to do so. Now, what we did last time, of course, we said we are going to do so, but then the next day, the Senate moved ahead and passed the necessary law. Well, we said, okay, fine, now that the law has been passed, let's go back and work. We had shut down, actually, to tell you the truth. We had shut down. Most countries, Kisumu, we had shut down. But when this happened, we said, okay, well, it looks as if the light is at the end of the tunnel, let's go back. And we use whatever resources we have to sustain services. And the goodwill of our health workers has helped a lot. The goodwill of the public servants in the county has helped a lot, giving the benefit of doubt to the other side. But you see, this should not be abused, really. This should not be abused because when push comes to shove, we shall shut down.
Right. Is that imminent?
I don't know, because it depends on where the funds come. That's why I'm saying that we should be rational and send the funds to the county. What's the point of holding on, really? It doesn't make sense to me, to tell you the truth.
Right. The president finally paused on the reopening of schools, which was widely greeted as, the right decision to make. What other steps need to be taken to ensure that it is safe to reopen schools? Also bearing in mind the financial challenges that many households are facing at this time.
It's the chicken and the egg thing. Do you want to keep schools closed forever? Definitely not. Secondly, do you want to open them and deal with the risk? Definitely yes. And this is where the joint efforts of parents, teachers, administrators of schools and Teacher Service Commission and everybody is called for. Look, I do believe that soon after China had dealt with this COVID-19 spread in a place like Wuhan and other places, they opened their schools. And if you see from YouTube, the children were very disciplined. And I hope our children can be as disciplined as the Chinese ones. And there were all kinds of precautions taken in the Chinese schools to make sure that kids don't get COVID. And there's no evidence to date that by opening schools in China, there was increased danger to the children. Since we know what the procedures are, we implement them in schools and let the kids go back to school. That is the bottom line. Now, the second thing you ask is, well, schools are opening. Are there funds for schools to open? Let's go back to pre-COVID days. Were there funds to run schools? Yes. Can we replicate the same thing now that COVID did here with a little bit extra money for COVID control? Definitely yes. Anybody opening schools without taking that into account would be adventurous, I think.
All right. That's our time. Thank you so very much for speaking to us this evening, Governor Professor Nyong'o. Okay, time for us to take another break. On the other side of this break, back into politics, Jubilee's politics, which are getting, frankly, deadly. We're speaking to David Murathe, who clearly doesn't even need those introductions and titles that I was about to give him. He appears to be an institution in his own right when it comes to matters Jubilee. We're talking about everything. After this, stay with us.